Welcome to Truckers Bunk Talk. In this video, we're going to discuss what depression is for truck drivers over the road, what they may be experiencing, and how to overcome and even treat depression without medication. So if this sounds interesting to you, take a few minutes to listen to this video if you believe that you do have depression, so that we can tackle this together and to understand that we can do this without medication. So what is the first thing that we want to establish here? And that is, what is depression? Depression is when we begin to have a mood that brings us down so much that it interferes with our daily living. Some examples of this can be that we cannot even get out of bed. We are not motivated or encouraged to even get out of bed. And some psychologists who work with clients, I have heard stories of those suffering from depression that can't even get out of bed. Other things that people who are highly depressed can turn to alcohol, can turn to other addictive drugs just to try to fill the void that they are having in depression. I've been a truck driver now for about 4 years, and I've been driving over the road. So I understand how it is to be away from family and friends, even your children. And this can begin to weigh on your mind every day if we do not take the time to spend quality time with our family. I realize as a truck driver that we can get swallowed up on the road. We are just driving miles and miles every day, and the clock is just going like this. And sooner or later, you see that a lot of time has elapsed, and it's been a month, 2 months, 3 months. I know people that are out for 6 months before they even visit home. Now, if you're a lone wolf, if you do not have kids or any obligations, that's amazing if you can do that. But even in that situation, we need communication with others so that we can make sure that we are taking care of our mind and making sure that we don't bottle things up. So I do understand as a truck driver how this distance can create depression sometimes. So as we are answering in this segment so far, what is depression? Depression can also be clinically diagnosed. And of course, it takes a professional to be able to discern that, to see if you are depressed clinically. But more importantly, you know your mind and your body and your whole spirit, whether you are depressed or feeling this mood that it's just bringing you down, you're unmotivated, and you do not want to set goals. And you begin to get the picture, and you're turning to other things that are unhealthy, and it just feeds more and more coal to the fire, and it just becomes a totally spiritually unhealthy situation. So this is what depression can look like. Stay with me now as we're going to discuss a few remedies to help treat depression and how to overcome it. And this is a serious topic that I think that we need to be talking about more often, because I see that there have been truck drivers that have actually taken their lives, didn't get the help they needed. And that is a very sad situation, because we have resources out here. We have certain numbers that we can call that are free. And of course, I know sometimes as men and even women, we like to stick to ourselves. We isolate and we bottle things up, and this becomes a pressure cooker, and you're not able to relieve that stress, and it just becomes so overwhelming that people in a sad situation will commit suicide. So let's take this topic seriously and not take depression lightly, because it is real. The good news is we have remedies such as the ones I'm going to share now. Let's draw our attention now to the word pride. And in this context, we are not talking about the pride that is a good pride, where we are happy that our children accomplish something, we are very proud of them. We're not talking about that kind of pride. The pride that we are talking about, as you may already know, is that one that becomes of a stubborn spirit within us. And this is when we become so hard-headed that we do not want to accept wisdom or advice. And that's a dangerous situation, because when the heart becomes so hardened and we are now void of knowledge and applying this knowledge, it can lead to even more detrimental things in our life that will destroy us. So we must gauge and check our pride now and make sure that we are not being stubborn in such a way that we are not taking the help when we know that we can take it, that we are making excuses as to why we can't begin change. And so we must be careful not to become so prideful that it does not allow transformation. So I just wanted to bring this to our attention. If you know and you are honest with yourself, you will know that you are being prideful and stubborn. And so I just encourage you, as we discuss this word, pride, to consider whether this is the case. If you're gaining some value so far from this discussion on what depression is and how to overcome depression as a truck driver, please subscribe and please like to reach other truck drivers that might be going through this kind of state or depression. It really does help when you do like and subscribe. It really does reach an audience, and I appreciate this in advance. I have some more remedies for you, so just stay with me as we continue this discussion. Another one I want to consider that can help treat and manage depression as a truck driver is to learn more about serotonin. What is serotonin? Serotonin is a chemical that is important in our body to regulate our mood. And when these serotonin levels drop so low, it can lead to this state of mind of depression. And there's things like foods that we eat. And I know the Flying J's and the pilots out here and all these nice little gold diners that have amazing food aren't the best for us sometimes. Of course, enjoy some of these foods out there. And I love to discover different kinds of diners and cafes and good food. But I want to, of course, encourage us to be mindful that certain foods that we are eating out here on the road can be causing some depression for us. And so just be mindful of this. And I'm not saying that you can never enjoy a good meal or never enjoy when that pizza is first put out in pilot and the cheese is melting and you get the picture. I'm not saying that we cannot enjoy these foods, but to just be more mindful of what we are putting into our bodies, because serotonin levels can drop and that can definitely affect our mood at times. Another remedy that we can consider as over-the-road truck drivers to help manage our depression is what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. And what this is, it's just a simple approach of having a conversation with a licensed professional, maybe a spiritual coach, maybe a life coach, and maybe even your wife or your significant other. You can have this kind of back and forth conversation in a healthy way that is feeding your mind positivity and your body positivity, and it starts to change your negative way of thinking. And this is the whole process of cognitive behavioral therapy that is used instead of medication. Because, as truck drivers, we have to be careful the meds that we are on, because some companies are very strict and they don't want us on certain medications because of safety on the road. And you understand and you get this point. So CBT for short, cognitive behavioral therapy, again, is where you have a process and communication that is being exchanged back and forth with a licensed therapist, and even sometimes a life coach nowadays can navigate you through this process without medication. And what CBT is a process that you go through that helps you eliminate all that negativity in your mind that can cause you to become depressed by simply thinking yourself into depression. Let me repeat that. Depression primarily is caused by our mind, and it begins to feed the body and eventually the spirit, and our entire being is affected just by thinking alone. Now, that is a powerful observation to consider, because you have heard many times, of course, in simple terms, it's all in your mind. But when we go further, what is causing that negative thinking? Is it our environment? And the other remedy that we can consider here is some psychologists will begin this discussion with their client and begin to ask them a series of questions. Do you have a job? I'm assuming as a truck driver, you're employed now. If not, I hope that you do become employed and remedy your situation and so on. But we are assuming that we are employed and that this is not a problem, but it can be if we are not. Other provoking questions that a licensed professional, or what we can consider now, is, do we have goals set in place? Because what happens when we have purpose in our life? What happens? We begin to become focused in our mind. We begin to have direction and a path to follow. And we begin to see vision and the light at the end of the tunnel. Or we begin to see that we can develop goals and that we can achieve goals. And then when we have fulfilled these goals, we have self-accomplishment. It puts us in a good mood. There's that serotonin level that rises, and also endorphins, which also come from exercise, by the way. And of course, I'm not going to emphasize exercise so much, but we all know that exercise is necessary. It's just getting motivated and taking those baby steps, because exercise does greatly reduce depression. And when we have goals and purpose in life, this leaves little time and little room for depression. I know we all get depressed in life, but we are talking about on a serious level when it starts to interfere with your life and you cannot do your daily activities. You have poor finances. You have a poor relationship with your significant other. You have poor health, and you're being attacked on all these levels because your depression does not allow you to come out of it. You can see how this can destroy us in our entirety if we do not consider our state. Here are the 3 takeaways that we need to remember in this discussion. Number 1, spiritually speaking, check the pride level in our lives. And I'm talking about the pride that can get in the way of us achieving things, can get in the way of us developing proper relationships and social skills with people. We do not want to come off arrogant. There's a time to, of course, boast in the right way. But when we check our pride and to assure that it is not coming in the way for us to manage or treat depression, if as a truck driver we are going through that, then it becomes dangerous if we do not check or gauge this pride level. Secondly, the other takeaway that we discussed was serotonin. I encourage you to do more research on this chemical because it is one of the most important chemicals to understand when it comes to depression and how it regulates our mood. And third, we talked about cognitive behavioral therapy. That is a conversation approach that will help you to eliminate negative thinking. It helps you to get rid of limiting beliefs. And through time, and of course, you have to put in the work, you have to put into practice daily, you will begin to see that CBT is a powerful method that is used without medication. If you made it this far into the video, I want to give you thanks for that, because I know it's not easy to sometimes stay focused in certain videos, but if you have, that means that you value this video. And I also want to bring to your attention and make you aware that we do have a spirituality website if that interests you for your spiritual growth. It's survivoneers.com. I have it there in the description, and you can also sign up to our newsletter, where we have spiritual insights that are free, that can be emailed to your inbox for you to read and consider, or even get updated when I put out YouTube videos. That's survivoneers.com. And again, if you enjoyed this discussion, subscribe to Truckers Bunk Talk. Like the video, share it, because YouTube loves it when people like and when people comment. As you know, many YouTubers out there are saying like and comment because they know that it helps the channel and it helps it to grow. And especially this topic, if you could just do me a favor, do other truck drivers a favor that might need this information. I'll be discussing more in the future on this topic, and let me know your thoughts in the comment so that I can improve this video and discuss it even further to help other people that are in need.